That kid from Georgia is absolutely sensational. Okay? Absolutely sensational. God, I love it. You notice one guy I didn't bring up. So let me, before we get Zander on here, by the way, please hit the like button. You guys have been absolutely great. Thank you very much. Give us a total right now on our likes. What'd you make of Jalen Hurts' game? What'd you make of Jalen Hurts' game? C plus? Mid? Typical Hurts game to me? C plus? Had an efficient game. Here, let me before I can get Zander on here, the president of the Jalen Hurts fan club, I just want to make sure we get that here. Hurts has me worried, says Joe. Well, before we get the commissioner of the fan club, and when Zander was down at Alabama, man, he used to hand out leaflets. Don't forget to vote for the Southeastern Conference Player of the Year, Jalen Hurts, because that's my boy. And he's now the official Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts, president of the fan club. So make sure you guys hit the like button. Give me a total on that. So here's what Jalen Hurts is now trending towards. 3,500 yards, 20 touchdowns, 101 quarterback rating, 68.4 in percentage, 628 yards rushing, and 12 touchdowns. All right. I mean, it's 3,500 yards. Here, let me just give you this here. Let me show you these guys. Burrow's on pace for 47-27, 43-7, 107-4. I get it. 67 completion percentage. Lamar, 43-02, 38-4, 116 quarterback rating. Baker Mayfield, 4,300 yards, 35 touchdowns, 101 rating, 70 completion percentage. How about Jared Goff, 4,400 yards, 31 TDs, 109, 3, and 72 completion percentage. Josh Allen, 4,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, 7 picks. And how about this one here? This goes into Zander. Here's Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels is on pace for 3,686 passing yards. Jalen Hurts is on pace for 3,533. Both guys are on pace for 20 touchdowns. One guy's on pace for 8 interceptions, the other 7. They look like the same guy to me. Like the same guy. Woo! How you doing? All right, don't forget, Gary Cobb will join us at 4:30. We had an absolute amazing pre- and post-game show. It was absolutely off the charts. We appreciate everybody coming to the show on Sunday. It was great. It was a big-time win for the Eagles. I know some of you out there were expecting I don't know what from Big Silz, but hey, great win. And all that work he did yesterday, the co-host of Birds 365, it is Big Z, Zander Krause.
What's going on, Big Silz? 8 in a row, baby.
What's that?
I said 8 in a row, baby.
8 in a row.
It's impressive. I don't care who you beat or how you do it. That's impressive in the NFL. 8 straight wins.
It is. No, it absolutely is. There's no getting around that. Okay, just your overall takeaway, man. I mean, at 24 hours after everything, your takeaway from what transpired in that game and your overall view of how you think they pulled that game out and won that game yesterday.
We're a tough football team to play. We keep coming. I'm getting an echo. Why am I getting an echo?
It doesn't sound it.
No?
No.
It sounded like it was coming from your side. Anyway, we're a tough football team to play. We're physical. Silz, our defense is as legit as it gets at this point in the year through 13 weeks. And we got an unbelievable closer in Saquon Barkley, and our team is built not in a modern way. It's not built in a modern way, or at least they don't play in a modern way. They're like an old school football team. They got a great defense. Points are hard to come by, and they just keep coming. And the thing is, every team we've played, even the physical teams, they haven't been able to be as physical as us, as long as us. And when you have that in the NFL, I think you can beat anybody. And, my biggest concern right now is the slow starts. But other than that, I think right now this team it would be foolish to not put this team at least in the NFC title game.
How about this?
I think they're there. I think they're there.
You don't believe the Eagles shut down the Ravens yesterday.
Yeah, I believe some of your stats are a little bit fuddy.
They're not stats. They went. Where did they? How about this? You don't think holding a team to 250 yards in total offense, the Ravens did? They were not a good defense.
Yeah, but are you going to insinuate to me that every game in the NFL you should have X amount of yards or give up X amount of yards?
No.
Listen, this was two heavyweights, Silz.
Correct.
You're looking at. I don't care.
No.
What did they hold us to? We won the game. Some of those games, though,
you're taking offense to what I'm saying, that both teams were physical with one another, and you don't like the fact that Baltimore was too.
Okay, and who won?
That's not what I'm fucking saying.
Well, that's
here.
The barometer on how to determine who won in physicality.
You're changing a complete narrative that I didn't have. I said the defense dictated Lamar making shitty decisions, which he did, but to sit there and say that they shut them completely down was an absolute not what happened in that game. That defense did such a good job at making that guy make poor decisions. That's what the outcome of that game was. Dude, if you think 170 yards and 5 yards a clip is bad rushing the football, you got a different view than what I did. And by the way, they held them to a season low. Everything under your total. They didn't do one thing exceptional offensively yesterday. Do you think they did?
No, I think they ran the ball well. I think they kept coming. I think they were consistent in what they wanted to do, and they won in the end. That's my point.
I think they outcoached them.
What I thought of the game. I tell you what I thought of the game, and now you're crying a hissy fit. Are you upset that you picked the Ravens to win the game?
You're trying to change the narrative that they out-physicaled them. They didn't.
You're trying to tell me we didn't out-physical that team when we did. I watched it with my own two eyes.
I didn't see that.
Derrick Henry averaged 4.3 yards a carry yesterday.
Okay, and the other guy averaged 4.3. Both of them were 6 yards a carry guys. So both of them got stuffed. Okay.
Okay, and who had the game-changing play at the end in the fourth quarter?
Zander, you're trying to tell me that you think you beat them up. You didn't.
We did beat them up. They had 12 points until the final 30 seconds of the game.
Defense did a great job on points. Yes, no doubt.
Okay, so how do we determine who beat up who?
They stuffed your passing game, which stinks. They stuffed your season average.
We had 19 attempts. If we had 40 attempts, it'd be a different story.
Hey, I'll tell you what. This is a losing argument for me here because you didn't.
I don't know what you're arguing. You haven't made a point on what you're arguing. You asked me for my take on the game. I told you, and now you're crying that I said we out-physicaled them.
They didn't. Nowhere in the game did you out-physical them.
Okay, I disagree.
You out-thought them and out-coached them.
Oh, I'll take that. Out-coaching is great when you got John Harbaugh.
They completely out-coached them.
They won at the line of scrimmage, Silz. They didn't win in the air.
Hoss, like John said and I yesterday, they moved the ball at will too, the Ravens.
Okay, good. To the tune of 12 points.
That's two different arguments and conversations. I said the defense made them make poor decisions. But to sit there and say you dominated them, there's nowhere. They had 71 plays to 50 plays. How are you dominating?
Yeah, but that's the defense, Silz. What's it called?
That's the point I'm making.
What's the nickname for this defense? Bend but don't break.
Lindbergh cheese defense.
No, it's not. Lindbergh cheese my ass. You can take that and stuff it in your Thanksgiving turkey because that's a bullshit comment. This defense is the number one defense in the NFL, has now played like that versus multiple top elite quarterbacks, and they're proving it week in and week out. I mean, what are you trying to take it away from them for? Where did you see them
dominate them? Really? That's not what I saw. They out-totaled them. They out-rushed them. They out-first downed them. They outplayed them. No plays. They outplayed them. The defense was the story of that game. And Lamar being all over the place and playing I thought he played shitty. And
Lamar did play
they
shitty.
won on special teams. They are special teams. How many times did that punter keep them in under the 5-yard line or inside the 10-yard line? 4 or 5 times? That was a huge part of that game. And on top of that,
Wait, let me
Ravens
give
left
you the
7
stats on
points
that.
on the board.
He had 5 punts inside the 20 and 2 punts
Incredible.
inside the 10. It's actually, were they inside the 5? I know the one was inside the 5. Was the second
Like
one
the
inside?
2.
I mean, it was crazy how good Braden Mann really flipped the game for us in that first half with that punt. And then the Ravens couldn't get anything going from the 1. Then we got the ball in plus territory, and that was when we really kick-started things on the offensive side.
Yep, the third quarter, that's when really I thought Philadelphia took the game over.
Yeah, I mean, what you're looking at with the stats you're given, just like on outplaying, having 71 plays, is it's the first quarter and the third quarter. The Eagles had 6 plays in the third quarter. So I remember watching it and being like, the third quarter's already over. Did we even get the ball? I mean, we didn't have the ball at all. And the Ravens, to the Eagles' defensive credit, the Ravens had the ball for 12 or 13 minutes of possession in that quarter. They didn't get a single point. They didn't get a single point.
They could have closed them out.
Well, that's what I'm worried about with the starts, because I know it looks pretty, but you got to thank this defense. In the start of the game, we had 4 straight punts on offense. And that's what I don't get. Like, even listen, I love this team. What I don't understand is we suck in the first quarter right now. Can everybody agree with that? We suck in the first quarter, correct? Okay. The first play of the game on offense for the Eagles, they ran the ball between the tackles, and Saquon Barkley got 13 yards. Then they pass, they're out. Next drive, they come back. 1 run, pass, you're out. 4 straight drives. And I'm like, why do I watch the Ravens early in the game? First down, hand it to Henry. Second down, hand it to Henry. Third and short, you convert. Like, why don't the Eagles? It's not hard to get this first half thing fixed, or the first quarter thing fixed. But anyway, if you took away the first quarter,
overcook it. I think they overcook it.
I don't know what I think they're trying to be something they're not in those first couple plays that they have, or they're trying to create this fairy tale offense that they dream of in their head, and then they realize, okay, it doesn't work. We're behind. We got to go and do our thing again. Why not just be who you are, embrace it, own it, and tell everybody who tries to tell you not to be that, fuck you, try and stop me. That's my approach in life, though, right? Like, what? That would be like me telling you, hey, don't act like Dan Silio today. You'd be like, no, fuck you. I'm going to be Dan Silio. The people that like me are going to come here and grow my show. The people that don't are going to cry and F off. Same thing. Be who you are. Be who you are. I don't know why they shy away from it. But anyway, I'm nitpicking. We're 10-2, where it's 8 straight.
No.
I'm admittedly nitpicking, though. But that would be my nitpick. It's not the passing game. It's
nitpicking is great, because you know why? Nitpicking is what cost you a Super Bowl in 22. The smallest things are going to cost you that game. You can't have mistakes when you play Mahomes or one of these other guys when you're in that game and those teams are playing like that. Zander, you can beat up Carolina. You can, by the way, one more time, I am not dismissing that victory. I personally think it's the best win in 2 years. Okay? That's just my opinion, because you had 2 guys playing elite ball, and you even had Roquan on the other side. And by the way, that fucking guy, Kyle Hamilton, can play. Yeah, they got some players.
He didn't have a great game, Kyle Hamilton.
But he got banged up, and I think that really affected him a lot back there.
But that was a big play with him.
He's an all-pro safety. I mean, you're talking about good football players in that game. My point is, again, they are beating different styles by just doing what you said. They're doing this. Well, this is who I am. And I know who you are, but I think I can beat your style. I can beat a counterpuncher. I can beat a jabber. But guess what? I'm a heavyweight champion, and I'm going to knock you out eventually. There's going to be somewhere in the fight, like George Foreman, who came on our program. You know what he said? George goes, this is the Eagles. You tell me if you agree. The Philadelphia Eagles are not worried about winning quarters. They're worried about knocking you out. George Foreman used to say this all the time. I wasn't worried about winning rounds. I was worried about winning a fight.
Right.
So he never cared how it looked until the end. That's all he cared about. And that's kind of how I look at this Eagle team. They don't care how it looks, Zander.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's a fair point.
When they get to the end, that's how it looks for them, whatever.
It's a fair point. I mean, to just to elaborate on my nitpick, the reason I worry about it is if we don't have this defense playing this good. Now, I'm sold this defense is going to be this good, but we also have to remember this is the NFL. On any given Sunday, the number one defense can get turned on their head, just like the number one offense could get turned on their head. Correct. You're playing the best players in the world. You got to show up on every single game and deliver the goods. So your margin for error in the start of those games is very small. Think about it. The Ravens started with 3 and 6. It should have been 10. And then they got the ball back 2 more times before the Eagles offense woke up and said, hey, did somebody in the offensive huddle forget that we have an MVP at running back? Okay. We decide to use him again. Things start working. By the way, to Jalen's credit, I thought he was great in that second quarter. Completed 9 of 11 passes, a touchdown pass, made good throws in stride, threw A.J. Brown open a couple times. I thought that was his best moment in the game. But that's my fear with the slow starts. If you go up against, I know Detroit, everybody wants to talk about Detroit, but forget Detroit for a second. Let's say you go up against the Buccaneers. Let's say you go up against the Green Bay Packers. Let's say you go up against any one of those teams that is able to capitalize on one of those first 2 or 3 drives where the birds aren't getting it going. Now you're forcing us to play that new brand of football that you and John are looking for, right? Right now, we can get away with bullying teams all throughout, even in the fourth quarter. We're still running the ball. That's because our defense is so damn good. It's giving our offense the time to be able to play that way. If we have another slow start versus a better team, or forget a better team, just a team that capitalizes on those first couple drives, now you're looking at a different scenario. Now, I think the Eagles would be able to handle it, but that would be my fear with those slow starts. I mean, the last thing you want to do, Silz, is go down 21-0 to Detroit because Kellen Moore wanted to throw the ball in the first quarter. You know, that's my fear with the start of the games. But it is a nitpick. It's a nitpick.
I don't get it, though. I mean, the first 25 are the plays that your coaches and your quarterback and your coordinator and your quarterback coach all huddle together all week long. Yeah, and those are the plays that you're going to go out and you're going to try to attack. It's been a colossal failure since Green Bay. I mean, they have not had a good first quarter, but maybe for one ball game. I mean, Zander, you can make the argument they're the worst first quarter football team offensively in pro football.
Yeah, I think they are.
They just don't get it going. And then when they're off script, they're 10 times better once they get off script and they start doing the thing that they do best, run the ball. They start running it almost by, get this, well, okay, so the passing game's not working. Let's run it. Hey, dude, it's one-dimensional that's working.
It is. And, large credit, it goes to the defense, like I said, because you're able to play bully ball all throughout versus when you're down by multiple touchdowns, it becomes you better, that passing game, we laugh about it, we joke about it, 118 yards, this, 25th. You better hope that passing game is better right now than the stats show. And I'm saying that as an Eagle fan and every Eagle fan.
That's a great take.
Now, I think it's better. I believe if they needed to do that, they could do it. I don't think they've needed to this point.
The first quarter shows you they're not really capable of it because that's where they look what they did against.
That's fair.
Look what they did against Baltimore, like you said. They're throwing. All of a sudden, it sputtered, and it seems to be a trend. They try to do that to get that passing game going in the first quarter, and they've been shut down every game.
That's fair, but I don't think that's the right approach. Like, also, can I ask a question about a narrative that I think should be completely debunked? And honestly, if you ask the player, I bet you he'd debunk it. Why don't we run more traditional play action? Who came up with this thing that Jalen can't play under center? Okay, maybe it's not his preference as an elite athlete. Maybe it's not. We got the best running back in the NFL. We got a running back who's on pace for 2,100 yards. I don't think people realize how unbelievable. When did Eric Dickerson set that record? 1985?
Yeah.
Somewhere back in the
2105.
We're talking about 35 years since a running back has run the ball like this in the NFL. And you're telling me our quarterback can't go under center? I think he can go under center. Do it.
Can I tell you?
I think he would thrive. You saw yesterday a play across the middle to A.J. Brown. Sorry, I know I'm yapping, but a play across the middle to A.J. Brown. He was under center, drop back, play action, and he got the ball out. I think we should run way more of that stuff. But anyway, they don't want to do it, and I don't understand why.
Can I tell you what I think the problem is with him under center?
Yeah, go for it.
I think his feet aren't great. I don't think
Meaning
he
like
gets
his
back.
footwork or
I don't
just
think his footwork getting back into the pocket. I think he drifts. And I don't really think he taps himself back there. And you know what it does too? Zander, think about this. When you go from under center, you have to drop back and then you have to process the information. That whole added concept of you drifting back and getting back, setting your feet, and then reading the defense, you have to have a pre-snap idea where you're going with the ball. You have to know where the blitzes are coming. You've had to already set protection. Do you know how many guys are gifted on being able to do just that from under center? The superstar guys. And get this, do I think Allen can do that? I don't know. Maybe a little, but not a lot. There's so few. Joe Burrow can do that.
Yeah,
There's
I get
so
it.
few dudes that can do that. Drop back, process the information, look around, know where pre-snap is. Jalen's still learning in that philosophy. And I think he drifts because he's looking for pressure. And I think that's why, get this, number one thing you do to him, he rolls right with any kind of pressure. He still does that. And I think they have a little bit more to work on with him in the pocket. I think his pocket presence, he took another sack in the game. I just think he's not real great in the pocket. But when he's out in the perimeter and he has to run, I'll tell you what I thought he did well. And I was going to ask you what, your takeaway on Jalen Hurts. I'll say this. I saw some RPOs implemented. For the first time in a bit, he ran them to perfection.
Now John had a take on that. I'm not sure if you caught Birds 365 this morning. John views that as an indictment. Now, they're not going to come out and say that publicly, but he's saying they're scaling back for the quarterback who's in year 5. Now, it's similar to
that's okay, Zander.
Exactly. That's where I am. Now, I don't have a problem with that
I don't either.
I believe our team is good enough around Jalen Hurts for this team to win a Super Bowl. Listen, we just debated Eli Manning on this show.
I don't have a problem with that.
Think about that, though. We just debated Eli Manning on this show a couple weeks ago. He's going to the Hall of Fame because he won the Super Bowl twice. Is Eli Manning an elite player?
No.
Our team is much better right now around Jalen Hurts than those Giants teams were with Eli. Or I think even in that Broncos team was with Peyton. Or all these teams who have the quarterback. Our team is up there with any of them in terms of weapons, the offensive line, the running game. I mean, you got everything you need. So right now, I'm not concerned about Jalen because I believe Jalen is playing how we need him to play to win games. Do people want Jalen to look like this elite player? I get it. I think people do. I think people want that. I think, not as a knock on you, I think you want that. You're being sold, this guy's a $51 million player. Why don't I see elite? I'm comfortable with him being what he is right now.
I saw him elite with the RPO.
You're right. He was.
He ran that thing to perfection. And I went like this. Holy shit, look at that RPO in there. Didn't he complete a touchdown pass on that thing?
Yeah, last night to Goddard. That was an RPO.
That was an RPO play. I went like this, Zander. I went, holy shit, man, they put some RPOs here. Now, John's saying that that's an indictment. It is an indictment, but so what?
Exactly.
If it results in getting touchdowns, dude, it's like even the media guys are fighting him from playing like 22. That's ridiculous. Dude, I told these 3 or 4 RPOs and I was like this. Holy cow. That's really great. He is in that game yesterday. He was a better decision maker than Lamar. How many times did you see Lamar throw into quadruple coverage? 4, 5?
And don't you think, Silz, what you just said, don't you think that's very important when you have a team this talented? Because, look, we can want Josh Allen needs to make more decisions, and he's going to make more wrong decisions because he has to. He doesn't have a football team around him that's good enough to win the biggest games.
Correct.
Jalen does.
Correct.
So that factors into what my expectations are of him. That's just as hard of a task for some quarterbacks as being a great pocket passer. Is making the right decision.
Let me show you
I think he's done a pretty good job at that.
Let me show you where your comment is spot on. Okay? Josh Allen has to make a spectacular play to continue to move the chains. You know what Jalen has to do? Get a punter to pin the ball down inside the 10-yard line 4 times and have my defense play like it did. I'm going to get another day to live. And do you remember what happened? How the field position changed when they kept kicking that? All of a sudden, the Eagles are getting the ball on the 45. They're 45,
Right.
and they're going almost half the field to be able to start scoring. That, to me, is what changed the game, is the field position and special teams.
You're right, man.
Plus the misses. Hurts can do this. Hey, man, my best friend, this was Brady's. Brady's best friend was a punt or a field goal. Dude, he won 3 Super Bowls early on in his first 10 years with field goals and punts.
Dude,
That's how they won.
I don't understand, actually. And maybe this is a dumb comment. Everybody can tell me if it is. I don't understand why the NFL as a whole doesn't value punters more. I mean, think about it, Silz. If you have 3 great punts a game, you can set your team up, just like the Eagles yesterday, to start at the 50 versus inside the 20. That's 30 yards right there. You give me 2 or 3 of those a game, that's a 100-yard game right there that you added that your offense didn't have to do, or your defense could handle more.
They're the only player on the field that can flip field position for you.
I agree. That's why I'm like, I would be looking for the best punter in the world. Can I find it?
That's why Kansas City signed Matt Arizzo.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. And by the way, Brady Man's been great. Yeah, crazy Chonka. You're right, man. Game of inches. Every yard matters. I'm surprised there's not more emphasis put on. You hear a lot of teams just sign any random punter. I mean, that's kind of what Howie did with Brady Mann. Now it's worked out. He's been pretty good, but I would like to find a. That's why I like that Matt Araiza kid. He's with the Chiefs, right? He's been pretty good with them.
And by the way, he's done exceptionally well with them.
Yeah,
helping them because why their offense. The offense has sputtered a lot this year, right? Well, guess what? The defense's best friend is
exactly a good punter.
Dude, you got a good punter, okay? He's helping your defense.
Look
what that punting team did for that defense yesterday.
Baltimore offense couldn't do anything starting from the 1-yard line. Yeah. I mean, it's true. It's true. It's a big thing, field position and how it impacts, especially when you get to the games where you're playing great teams, right? And everything matters. You're playing the Giants and you're up 28-7. Okay, field position is going to be what it's going to be. But you're playing the Ravens. You're playing the Lions. I think even the Packers, dude. I can't wait for this Thursday night game, dude. That's going to be.
Green Bay and Detroit is going to be massive.
That's going to be a hell of a game, man. That Green Bay team is a sneaky team. Yeah, remember they got hot late last year and they dismantled the Cowboys in the playoffs. Everybody remembers that, I'm sure. That's a pretty good team. They're a scary team. They can be good.
I don't know what happened to Justin Tucker, but Justin Tucker lost that game for them. They had 7 points, 2 field goals missed, an extra point. I mean, they had that game and special teams. Get this. So the Ravens special teams failed and the Eagles special teams was sensational. And then you look at the numbers in between with both teams, they're kind of in the same room together. What really came down was poor decision-making by Lamar, great special teams by the Eagles, and a defense that played situationally that made them make the critical plays. I'll tell you what I was really shocked. I don't know if it was 3 or 4 sacks, but those 3 or 4 sacks, why did Lamar just throw the fucking ball away? Why was he hanging on to it so much in the pocket like that? He took himself out of field goal position at least 3 times in that ball game with some of those plays.
You know what I think might be happening at times to Lamar, and I had fears about this happening with Jalen. It ultimately hasn't, but I think he's almost so flipped that I need to make a play in the passing game that he's now leaving yards on the table to not run.
You see his mom bitching him out?
Yeah, I saw. I think I did see. I didn't see. His
mom bitched him up because she's his agent, and she goes like this. He comes walking.
Take them yards.
Hey, he comes walking up to her after the game. She's like, "You left about 100 yards on the field." I mean, everyone heard it.
He did. I was watching some of the All-22 today. He did. He absolutely left a lot of yards out there. And I don't want that to happen to Jalen. You're so in love with making a play downfield. If there's 15 easy yards, give me the 15 easy yards. Let's get to the next play. He is. Yeah, he's a different type of player. Lamar's more of a jukey fast. He's a very fast player. He plays at a fast pace. Jalen is almost like a Rolls Royce.
Yeah, more like a Yugo, but okay. Hey, how about this? Let's go to it. What'd you make of his play?
Jalen's?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I think, I'm good with where he is because I think this is what the team needs him to be. I think you have enough talent. You got Saquon, you got this offensive line, you have receivers when you're going to use them. I mean, you have everything you need. And I mentioned it a little bit ago. I can live with him missing some throws. I don't want to live with him having 7 turnovers in a 4-game period. That was unlivable. Now with where he is, now I know he's not a world beater. He's not an MVP player right now. I mean, nobody should,
make a Nick. By the way, all super
you're right.
chats
You
will
were
be
right.
read.
What you said. He overselling.
All super chats will be read at the end of our segment here with Zander. What do you make of Nick overselling that whole thing and going overboard with him being an MVP? You don't have to sell us, dude. He's 10-2 or whatever he is.
Yeah, but listen, that's what coaches do. And look, it's an oversell job. It's an oversell job, but think about it from Nick's shoes, right? He's trying to insulate his player from unnecessary rat poison, you could call it, after 8 straight wins. I think that's fine. I'm not going to say that Nick fooled me with it, but I'm going to acknowledge I'm okay with him doing it.
Who's he talking about, I wonder? Just keeping score here. I mean, who's he talking about here? You're going to get the criticism because he knows that Big Silz is there like a vulture.
Big Silz got egg on there. You got egg on your face, big head.
No, I don't.
Yeah, you do.
No, I don't. I don't have any egg.
Against the birds again. You picked against the birds again.
What have you done?
Nothing yet. Other than handle who's in front of us for the last 8 weeks.
I'll say this to you, Zander. In the NFC, Minnesota. No, sorry, I'm not. Sam Darnold. I'm not even going to consider them. And give me another. I mean, Green Bay. I think has some players that can win and do things, but outside of that, because they have a running game with Josh Jacobs. Okay, outside of that, is there another team in the NFC going into the playoffs right now? Washington. Here.
Let me look at the playoff picture real quick because I do think there's a couple teams in the NFC. Not that are scary, but you don't particularly want to see
the NFC right now. It's Lions, Eagles, Seahawks, Falcons, Vikings, Packers, Commanders, and the Bucs are in the 8-hole right now. And the Bucs seemingly have the Eagles number when it comes to how to defend Jalen.
Yeah, Eagle fans aren't going to like this, but it's the truth. I don't want to see the Buccaneers in the playoffs.
I don't either.
Listen, I know we're a better team. I don't want to see that team in the playoffs.
You mean you don't want to see Todd Bowles?
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Exactly. And by the way, put some respect on Baker Mayfield. That dude is having a season.
Hey, he got his guys back, man. And
even when he didn't have his guys back, he was putting up 300 plus in the air. I mean, that dude he's a new player, but I don't want to see the Bucs. I'd have to look at the rest of who else is fighting to get in on the NFC side. Let me look real quick.
I didn't. The 49ers are still down there, but I think they're dead. The Rams are still fighting to get into the playoffs too.
Yeah, the Cardinals, they lost one. So Cardinals and Bucks are both at 6-6. I wanted the Commanders to drop that game. I don't want. Actually, I'd rather play the Commanders, and if let's just say for a second we get the 2 seed, I'd rather play the Commanders and the Bucks or the Cardinals.
Here's what it would be right now. It would be Commanders going to Lincoln Financial to take the Eagles on. It would be the Packers going to the Seahawks and playing Seattle, and it would be the Vikings going to the Falcons. Called division winners host home games. And in my opinion, Eagles would beat the Commanders. They would move on to the next round, the divisional round. Then you would have Green Bay would win. So then it would be probably Green Bay would have to take on the Lions because they would be the lesser seed next to because the Vikings would take on you. You would have to take on the Vikings at home in the second round of the playoffs. So it would go Commanders, Vikings, and then probably Lions for you to get to the Super Bowl.
I'm okay with that. I can live with that.
Now that's if the Lions hold
Commanders in the link.
That's if the Lions hold suit and host.
They got the Bills and the Packers in the next 2 weeks, I think. Yeah. I think they follow up the Packers game with the Bills.
Here's the AFC. The 2 teams already clinched playoffs, Chiefs and Bills. You got the Steelers in the 3-hole. You got the Texans in the 4-hole. The Chargers 5. You got Ravens 6, and you got Broncos 7. In the 8-hole right now is the 6 and 7 Indianapolis Colts. Who would have thought this, man? That both former coordinators could have 2 playoff teams, Jonathan Gannon and Shane Steichen, could have their football teams in the postseason playing postseason football. That would absolutely be amazing. All right, Zander, I got one for you. Who's had a bigger impact on the football team on defense, Cooper DeJean or Quinyon Mitchell?
I got to say Quinyon still. I get what you're saying, and I am impressed as hell with Cooper DeJean. I think you're right. He's a little bit of a flashier player, but we can't understate how important it is to have a guy on the outside locking down, wide receivers in the modern NFL.
I didn't say who's better, Zander. I didn't say who's better.
You said who's more important.
Who's had a bigger impact, like with juice, fucking bringing it to the table, tone setting?
Gotta go Q, man. It's not. It's a silent. It's a harder to recognize impact. But we haven't had a bona fide cornerback on the outside on that side in a long time. I mean,
did you like my compare? I'm comparing him to John Lynch.
Who?
Cooper DeJean.
What do you mean, John Lynch?
John Lynch, the former Buck, the guy who was a safety who knocked everyone out and set a tone for that Buck defense in 2002. He's now the general manager of 49ers.
Yeah, I know he's the manager now.
Yeah, but he's a Hall of Fame.
Was he a good player? Obviously,
Hall of Famer.
Well, that's
he was just inducted into the Hall of Fame last year. He's got
John
9 Pro
Lynch.
Bowls. Hey, he's got 9 Pro Bowls.
You know what they're calling him in Philly, right?
What?
Chalk Dog.
Oh, my God. It's awesome. God, I love that. God, I love that.
Cooper Chalkins.
Saquon Barkley. Do you remember Terrell Owens playing in that 04 team?
I was 6 years old. I mean, I've seen highlights and everything, but I can't say I remember that.
Okay. Can you in your lifetime think of a player that's had a bigger impact on a football team that they signed than him?
Than Saquon?
In your lifetime?
No way. I can only think of bust. That were expecting, DeMarco Murray, who are the 2 cornerbacks that we got.
Nnamdi Asomugha.
Who was the other one? Byron? Yeah.
I forget the other guy.
Byron Maxwell, was it?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Saquon's unbelievable, man. You're right. This is Howie's best free agent signing maybe ever, for sure. And what he's been able now. Malcolm, there you go, Kyle. That's a good one. Malcolm Jenkins. That's a good one. He was an impact and obviously a Super Bowl winner here. So big impact there. But yeah, Saquon's been unbelievable, man. It's fun to watch. And like I said, we got an error. This guy's on pace for when did Eric Dickerson set that record?
84.
What was 84 was it?
5.
Yeah, I mean, think about that. You're talking about 40
he did that.
years.
He did that in 16 games.
That's true. 40 years, though. 40 freaking years that thing held up. 40 years.
With all the backs that they've had.
With all the backs that have come through the league.
Emmett, Barry, all them guys. Adrian Peterson, Shady.
Crazy.
Okay? I mean, think about that.
Crazy.
You got to remember something, though. Dickerson I played against him. Dickerson was a different dude. He could carry the ball 385 times. He's a lot like Derrick Henry. Okay, ran upright, ran upright and through the line of scrimmage. Dickerson's first year out of SMU, he went for 1884. Then the next year he went for 2105. Like I told you before, Zander, he had 4,000 rushing yards in 2 years, his first 2 years in the league. Crazy. He just annihilated teams, but he had one important thing. He had a great O-line. And I said this before. I'll say it again. I think Howie Roseman has learned something from Barkley. Man, dude, Miles Sanders and DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift's above average. He's a good player. But Miles Sanders is okay. When you have an elite back matched up with that line, I don't think Philly will ever not have an elite running back ever again to match that O-line because, dude, you really think Zach Bond is the number 1 priority to sign? I'll tell you, that guy at right guard, man, I might be thinking because I'll tell you what, he fucking blows people off the – Zander, I watched I'm watching it this morning. I'm like, this guy's knocking people 5 yards off the ball. He's not a guard. He's not a guard.
Still, the Eagles are – I'll tell you right now, if I've learned anything about this team from talking to you and John and everybody else I've talked to in the last 4 years since I started this business, the team is thinking more like you are right now than the fans are.
I want
Mekhi
that.
Becton's probably a bigger priority inside that locker room than Zach Bond is. That's just the Eagles' philosophy. They want to build the lines. And look, we might want the flashy pick every once in a while, but we gotta love that they do that, man, because our offensive line has been a force for years, and it's the reason that we're so competent every
Xander,
year, I think.
I would take a top flight offensive lineman over a top flight linebacker. Watch this. Silz, who would you take? Just name the best offensive lineman. Say Trent Williams. Would I take Trent Williams or would I take Roquan Smith? I'd take Trent Williams all night.
Yeah, right.
I'm going to take the old lineman over a linebacker any day, and he's good. I'm not saying that.
Yeah, here's a comment I'll disagree with. This guy says Becton is only worth signing because he's the long-term answer at right tackle. I don't agree with that at all. I'm good if he was a guard for life. Dude, Ambler, let me just explain something to you. We got a running back who's on pace to break a record that hasn't been broken in 40 years. That right guard is worth every penny that they're going to give Mekhi Becton, whether he's the answer at right tackle or not. I'm locking that thing up.
You know how that doesn't make sense to the Eagles? Landon Dickerson was drafted as a center, and now he's an all-pro left guard. You think he was the answer to move over for Jason Kelce? No. What they did was they went out and they evaluated a center in Cam Jurgens, and they got him. So they didn't move him. Believe it. I mean, Landon was a center at Alabama. He wasn't a left guard. And so he was supposed to be the answer after Kelce. They saw how great he was and went, yeah, we're going to leave that alone. And I think that's what they would do here also with Becton. They would leave that alone. Dude, he has to be the biggest guard like in football right now. I've never seen anything like it.
For sure. I have a feeling Howie's going to get all of them signed. I have a weird feeling he's going to get Milton, Bond, and Becton all signed, and he better get Josh Sweat back here.
Well, here, okay, wait a minute now. Okay, so you want to get Becton back. That's $15 million.
Yeah, but can I explain something to you? Because I know you're going to do this and you're going to put big numbers on it. One of the luxuries that we've had here, Silz, in Philly is how Howie manages the cap.
Okay.
So you're going to read out the numbers, and yes, that's what they're worth. You know what the cap's hits are for the top guys on offense next year? Jalen Hurts' cap hit, $21 million. A.J. Brown's cap hit, $17 million. Dallas Goedert's, $11 million. Devontae Smith's, $7 million. Like, those guys aren't making that money. They're making double that and triple that.
Howie has $300 million to move around next year with money that's owed, though, throughout the entire roster.
Yeah, but my point is he's been so good at it in the past. Why would I assume he's not going to be able to do that in the future?
Okay, I just want, like you said, they're going to probably go up front and do all that stuff again and do all the money up front. You're talking Becton, $15 million. You're probably talking another 20 or another 10 for Milton. That's 25. Bond's 15. That's 34. That's 4. He's going to have to get. There's what money they're going to have to come up with for those guys when it comes to putting money up front. Now you do. Here's a good one. You do if you move off of Slay and you move off of Bradbury. There's 20 that you can roll back. Okay, they're going to have to pay a lot of guys up front.
Yeah, I think that, and look, they will. They've done that in the past. So again, I think they're going to get it done.
That's a linebacker.
Well, they did it with Nigel Bradham, who was the closest one, and he ultimately turned into be a bust. But not a bust. He wasn't a bust, but he didn't live up to the contract he got. I think it was in 2018 he got that contract. But look, wouldn't it be hard for you? And I'm not Howie Roseman. I can't put myself in his shoes. Wouldn't it be hard for you though to watch this team and not say, "Hey, that guy has made a really big difference on our football team. We should probably keep him around these parts."
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I know they haven't done it in the past. I understand, but how could any GM watch this team, look at the way they're built, look at how they're winning games, look at the credit to the defense, and say, yeah, we'll just interchange that linebacker.
Hey.
I don't think he's going to do it. I think it's simple, and I think Howie Roseman, look, for all his faults, he does learn lessons, and he does change the way he does things based on his mistakes and what he feels he did wrong in the past. And I don't think he's going to let Zach Bond leave. And I think in a way, I think in a way it makes him a little bit vindicated on what he did with TJ Edwards, because TJ Edwards is not this player. TJ Edwards is not particularly close to this player. He was a one-dimensional. He was great.
Well, they had a
But
gap
that
in there
arm
last
is-
year where the whole thing was a train wreck.
That's true. Maybe you could have got him there, but I'm just saying this is the type of player that maybe Howie was waiting for. If it's not this guy, it's nobody.
So are you saying Howie's had more experience and more success with undrafted free agents and drafting them? Because he has.
Well, I don't know, Silz. Listen, maybe at linebacker, yes. But,
Totally.
I want to give credit to one of our great viewers, as we have many of them here on JAKIB. I love you all. You guys are the best. But one of you guys sent me a great list today. And, they're clamoring, show this to Cilio, show this to Cilio, which is what most of my DMs say, by the way. We've been hard on Howie on draft and defense. We got to be honest and we got to be fair here. Cooper, Quinyon, Jalen Carter, Nakobe Dean, Nolan Smith, Reed Blankenship, Josh Sweat.
Reed was not drafted. He was a free agent.
Yeah. Oh, and how we got him, though.
Yep.
So, is there going to be misses? Always. That's a decent
Well, he's
track
had
record
24 years of misses.
And that's not.
Now Zander, he's drafted 39 corners and he landed on 2 after 24
So do you want me to move on from the guy from what he did 15 years ago, or do you want me to acknowledge what he's doing?
I'm telling you, he had to get it right eventually because he drafted 38 of them.
It only took 15 years. Well, good. Here it is. Now we're here.
And by the way, how much of that is on Vic? If you're going to give Jeff Stoutland credit also for building old linemen, why not give Vic credit for also turning careers around on defense?
I am giving Vic credit. Vic deserves more credit. But listen, Howie gave him some dudes, and Vic is making the most of them. Okay, Vic's been in the league for 40 years. He hasn't been able to do that with every player he's coached. So Howie's got some misses, but every GM does, and he's certainly got some hits. And I think the wins are starting to accumulate on that defensive side a little bit more than they had in the past.
Do you believe the Lions are the best team in football? I mean, the Eagles are the best team in football.
Yes, I do. I was going to ask you that question. I think the Birds have eclipsed the Lions mainly right now because I think the Lions have taken some season-ending injuries that are going to.
You would take the Eagles over the Chiefs?
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
I think the Chiefs were a better team in 22, and we came within a field goal of them. I think we're better in 24.
I think you were better in 22 than them. You had a better roster.
Yeah, but we got better.
Are
we better this year or in 22?
They were beat by Juju.
Are we better this year or 22?
Well, right now I got to say 22 because you got there.
Okay, that's fair. But do you think we're trending to be better than we were in 22?
No, because you don't have the pressure. The pressure, you had 70 sacks.
Okay, so close up. I think we're better right now.
I think you had a guy who lead the NFL in interceptions. You were third in turnovers. You were number one in pressure on the quarterback. I mean,
yeah, that's true.
You had an historic pass rushing season that year. Only the 85 Bears had more sacks. I mean, but then again, Zander, watch this. You're talking about one of the top 3 performances in NFL history. And now you got all these young guys. Yeah. Now, do I think they can be gang? They're never going to be gangrene. You're not because you know why you can't be gangrene?
You can't be.
You can't keep those teams and those players around long like you did back in the day.
You also can't hit like those guys hit, or you can't act like those guys acted because you get a flag for literally doing anything.
I got Gary Cobb coming up here. Let's do these super chats.
Yeah, no doubt. I do want to ask you real quick, what do you think is going to happen with the college football this week?
Oh, I think Miami has every opportunity and should never make the postseason. You lay an egg like that against Syracuse, don't ever tell me about being back ever again. I had this question asked to me 100 times about people telling me about being back. Fuck that. If you have to ask that question, we're not back. And you can't play defense. You want to hear something, Zander? I looked up some of our stats. We gave up 4 rushing touchdowns in 12 games the whole year. Okay? I mean, we gave up 8 points a game. if you're going to hang around the rim, you got to look like those Alabama defenses and those Kings defenses. If you can't be giving up 38 points, 39 points, and 25 first downs to call yourself a contender. I just don't.
Now, how much of a step
think
back?
Georgia's going to win it all.
Now, how much of a step back will Miami take if they lose Cam Ward and stuff? You like, because right now I think offensively, I think they're there, but defensively they're not. How much of a step back are you thinking?
I think they're talking again. They got a top kid. They got a number 5 pick that's going in there into Miami this next year. But
is he going to be a freshman?
Yeah, he's going to be a freshman. But freshman versus experienced.
Yeah,
I don't.
Might take him a little bit.
Yeah, to me, again, I think the two things that the programs that we cover, Alabama and Miami, I think Alabama's got to get in the portal to get themselves a quarterback.
Yeah.
And I think Miami's got to get in the portal and get themselves a quarterback.
Well, tell you, Bama does have that one kid who's sitting as a 5-star. He's pretty good, but I don't know what he'll be.
I think
Bama, if Bama wants to get in, they're going to need, I think, SMU to beat Clemson and knock them off.
Yeah.
Because if Clemson somehow wins that game, you're going to put SMU in, and then you're probably going to have Clemson in too.
Absolutely.
That's probably going to knock Bama off.
Yeah, because you're going to get 2 teams from the ACC in there.
Right, if Clemson wins. If Clemson
wins. That's right.
So.
But
I think SMU is a much better team than Clemson.
What'd you make of that Ohio State fight with Michigan?
Yeah,
over the weekend.
That coach needs to get the job done, man. You could what is that? 4 straight losses to Michigan now.
Now he is Ryan Day.
Come on, buddy. You got to make that now. I'm no Ohio State fan. I could care less about the entire Big Ten. I don't give a shit about any of those teams, Penn State included. But I do think it was a good brawl. Now you gifted Penn State. Will they take advantage of it? Probably not, because James Franklin can't win the big game. He never has, never will.
Yeah.
And we'll see how it all plays out. Should be a good one, though.
I was okay with the Ohio State players not allowing the Michigan guys to plant the flag. However, Ryan Day should have handled it better, and he should have got his players off the field. Players getting maced. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Don't wreck the game. Don't wreck the game like that. I mean, I get hands being thrown. Zander, nobody gets beat up when you have your helmet on.
Listen, you know what else too, though? About the
someone's going to get beat up.
And if you didn't want a team to plant their flag on your turf, how about you fucking beat them?
Yeah. No, I get it.
Beat them between the lines. Are you crying about it after? Dude, he just beat you.
Hey,
if you want to be able to defend your turf, then defend your turf.
Hey, that's a rivalry that is always going to have. Same thing with Auburn, Alabama, man.
Yeah. No, we
Same thing with Auburn, Alabama.
You want to do the supers after Gary? Or?
Yeah, let's do the supers after Gary. So real quick let's set it up with Gary here. For you, it's a signature win for sure, right?
I think it's a signature win, and I think this team is proven now, no matter what you throw at them, no matter what style of play they have, we can play our brand of football, and we can win because we're good enough where we need to be good enough, and that's the trenches, the offensive line. The defense has obviously been stout, and you have Saquon Barkley, who's one of the best, backs in the league, on pace for breaking Eric Dickerson, which is insane. I think we got the formula we need, Silz, to beat anybody in this league. Now, can they continue to play well into the back end? That's what matters. Like I said, you can have the number 1 ranked defense. On any given Sunday, a team can turn you on your head. It's the same thing with offense. It's the same thing. You got to
even with the 27th worst passing game in the NFL. You're okay with that?
I'm okay with it because of what the defense is doing and what Saquon Barkley's been. I think that tells part of the story. But would I like it to be better? Yeah, of course. But I think we can win without it being better because that's the way the team is built right now. But that means you're relying on your defense to be great in every game.
We'll do the super chats after, but you see this shirt I got on right here? Okay, this is the Black Knights. They just won the city championship in Stanford where Gary played. And they beat West Hill, and now they're the city champions. Gary's a city champion. I'm a city champion. Gary, that's a big deal. So, Zander, we'll get to the supers after. Okay? We appreciated that. We'll get to the supers after. But let's bring Gary Cobb up right now.